The next scarf I'm going to do, I call it the double loop drop stitch scarf because part of it has the double loop drop stitch and the other part has a yarn over knit two together. It's a really neat little scarf. As you can see in the picture, I've done it 4 different ways. I've done it as a regular scarf, which is what I'm going to show today. And I did the exact same pattern, but extra wide and turned it into a stole. And then I did this one here, making it lengthwise. And I just did the double loop drop stitch because when I tried to put the other stitch in between, it just didn't look as warm as it would be if I just did the double loop drop stitch. I've sold all 3 of these, so unfortunately I can't show you those, but I do have 2 more of these left in stock, and those are the 2 I brought to show you, and I'll show you how they're made. This is just an adaptation of this one, so if you do this one, you can definitely do this one. Okay, we'll start with the yarns. Now the yarns I use are usually the lighter weights, like the Sport or DK whenever possible. Now this one is done with a yarn that has some sparkle to it. It doesn't really show up too well on here, but it's this one here called Jewel, and you can really see the sparkle. Unfortunately, Jewel has been discontinued for many years, and all I have left in my shop is green and black. So that's why I'm just showing you this one. Another one you could use is called Perla. As you see, it's got the sparkles too, just not quite as sparkly, but it is the same weight. And I do have several skeins of this left in blue, royal blue, black. I think I have white and red. I'm going to see if I can get them on my website. Or if you want, you can make it with, like I did this one, with something like folio. This is Folio Luxe. It has some sparkle in it, but they also do the folio that's plain. But any DK weight yarn would work. This one is an alpaca, rayon, and acrylic blend. But you could use any blend you want. Just make sure it's soft, because that's what makes the scarf so soft. Or the new one I just showed you on the last one, the Tubo. It would work too. This is what is it? I'm blank. Rayon from bamboo. I've yet still to figure out how they make a rayon fiber out of a natural fiber, but you never know in these plants what they can come up with. But this would work great. You could use any DK weight yarn like a Dream Baby, Snuggly DK, Comfort DK, but any of those would work. It's entirely up to you which one you want. Now I'm going to be working on this for 2 or 3 days because, as you know, scarves are quite long. And I don't know if I'll go ahead and finish the entire scarf for this video, but I guess I could. I do notice that even though it's primarily knit, although there is some purling in between, it likes to curl. So what I'm going to do when I make the next one, instead of only 4 stitches in garter, I'll either do 6 or 8 and bring it out a little further. When you do a scarf, if you don't make your garter edge wide enough when you're doing something that has a lot of stockinette to it, as you can see, it just automatically wants to curl in. It's just the nature of the stockinette stitch. It likes to curl. So like I said, I'm going to make it 6 or 8 stitches on either side before I do my pattern. Okay, let's get started. Now it shows this one I did it in Briza, which is probably what this one might be. This could be Briza, or it could be folio. I've made it quite a few of these over the last couple of years. It's been a very popular scarf using any type of a soft fuzzy yarn. It says you need about 219 yards in the balls. Okay, and they just say nylon, wool, blend, whatever, and sport weight, which is DK. For the vertical one, 24-inch circle or 14-inch straight needle will work. That would be this one here. That's if you like circular. For the horizontal, that's the ones that are knitted this direction. That would be this one and this one. So it recommends a 36 circular needle, size 8. So either way, you need a size 8. Since I'm just making a straight scarf, I'm going to use a 9-inch needle, which is more than enough needle to make this particular scarf. And of course, you need a darning needle to weave in tails. And if you want to work with the gauge, I've got the gauge listed here also for you, so you can see both. And then all the finished sizes here tells you how many balls you need of each. I'm just going to make the basic 5-inch by 45, and it says it takes 1 ball. Now, even if you want it making it wider, you may not get the full 45 inches. You might have to stop 2 inches shorter, but that's entirely up to you. As long as you complete a pattern roll, you can stop it anywhere you want. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try it with the Perla. I've never made it with Perla before, and I think that might be a nice one to try with. Okay, let me just put that on the floor because I really don't need to worry about the rest of it. Okay, and like it says here, if you make it wider or longer, it will take additional yarn. So you may need an extra ball. Okay, and you cast on for the one I'm going to do 30. But I'm going to add the extra, let's see, I'm going to make it instead of 4, if I make it 8 on each side, I need an extra 8 stitches. So instead of casting on 30, I'm going to cast on 38. That would give me, instead of a knit 4, have a knit 8 here, and here would have a knit 8. So, and same here, this would be a knit 8, and at the end, knit 8. So there's always, the end will start with a knit and end with a knit, which is the garter stitch, like we do with the baby jackets. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. 38 stitches. Now you can cast on any way you like, whatever's comfortable to you. I like doing the long tail cast on personally. So we'll do, now sometimes yarns with the metallic in it can be a little stiffer than a yarn without metallic, so you have to also take that into consideration. I'm doing this a little quicker. Now if you want to see how I do it, you make a slingshot with your yarn, go under your thumb, around your index finger, and then flip the thumb yarn over and pull it tight. So it's up the thumb, around the index finger, flip the thumb over, and pull it tight. Once you get the hang of it, it's really easy to do. I like it because you actually knit your first roll on. Now, I never count that first roll as a knit roll. I just consider it my cast on. It's entirely up to you. You can consider your first roll if you like. I just found I just ignore it. It's just easier for me to remember, to not remember it. Let's see. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. I need 6 more. Let's see if I have enough to get 6 out of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now I have 38. Right now it doesn't look that wide, but since it's just a cast on roll, it doesn't always look as wide as you think it's going to be when it's done. I'll double check my count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28. Oh, that's only 30. I need 38, so I don't have enough. I'm going to have to take it off and take it over here and see if I can get my 38. There's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Okay, 8 more to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 more, 7, 8. Okay, there. Now I got my 38. 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. 4. Okay, now the actual inside pattern part is exactly stitched per stitch, the exact same. The only difference is you're beginning with a knit 8 instead of knit 4 and ending with a knit 8 instead of a knit 4. You can always put a little marker on if you like after your 8th stitch. That way you know when your actual garter stitch starts again. That's another way to help keep track of where you're at. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. To start with, it says knit 4 rolls. I think we can handle that. And it's just a standard knit, nothing fancy. I always knit on my tips. It just makes it more comfortable and easy for me. If you knit further back on the needles, you're more than welcome to do it that way. However you were taught will work. You just have to make sure you're comfortable while you're knitting the item. I have several more scarves I like to show. Each one is different. I just wanted to show my two favorites first. And then all the others, they're favorites to me also, but not as much of a favorite as these first two that I'm showing you. Now I won't show you how to do this one because it's basically half of this one. It just doesn't have the yarn over knit two together section in it. Otherwise it's exactly the same with a lot of stockinette rolls in between the double loop drop stitch. Oh, let me tell you the story about the double loop drop stitch. I had a lady come into my shop back in 2003. I was in Jupiter at that time, and she wanted me to knit her a cute little crop top. I said, sure, I can do that. She handed me the pattern. It was a European pattern, and it had the double loop drop stitch in it. Of course, it didn't have a name. They just told you how to do it. And I thought, you know, that is a clever little stitch. So I just copied the pattern down on a piece of paper and stuck it in a folder and forgot about it. So then about 2015, 2016, I remembered I had the pattern, and I thought, gee, what can I make with it? Because it is such a cute idea with the two loops in the drop stitch instead of just one loop in the drop stitch. So I come up with this design, and I thought it was really neat. So then I started making it in all kinds of things. I made shawls with it, ladies' tops, little kids' tops, stoles, and anything else I could think of. I think I even made a washcloth with it once. I can't remember. But it's not hard to do. It's just a little bit different from a standard drop stitch. But the directions are here listed, and they're pretty easy to understand. They're wrote very simply. You just have to follow what it says and don't try to add more to it than there really is. That's where a lot of knitters and crocheters, especially when they're first starting out, kind of get lost. They read more into a pattern than actually needs to be. When I'm teaching, I tell people, do what's between the commas. So you read the stitches between the first and second comma and just do those. Then you read the stitches between the second and third comma and just do those. And as you work your way across the pattern going between your commas, you actually are knitting the pattern without having a lot of questionable thoughts as to is this right or is this wrong. And then once you get to the end of the sentence and the end of your work, you think, wow, that was easy. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was. So if you get a pattern that you're a little confused on, try doing it that way. Try just doing the directions between your commas instead of reading the whole sentence and try to figure it out from the whole sentence. Okay, this is row number 3. We're getting through this pretty quick. Now making the 8 stitches is making it definitely wider by at least an inch, which means I may have to get a second ball to make this a decent length. Let's see what this ball says. Perla says there is, if I can find the yardage, well, that's information about the company, 137 yards. Okay, and this says you need, oh, where was it, 100 and, I lost it. 219 yards. So I'll definitely have to get a second ball if I want to go ahead and continue making this all the way down. And then of course you may or may not have to block it. Sometimes if there's a lot more knitted stitches and an open weave, you may not have to block it as severely like I did with the fishnet scarf. This you may just want to lay it smooth and flat, get it damp, and just let the fibers relax on their own. Since this has the metallic in it, I'd be a little more nervous about putting heat on it for fear the metallic part might dull or might flatten. So I try not to do a lot of steam pressing yarns that have a metallic thread in them. If you wanted to do that, I would suggest make a little sample piece, a couple inches square, and see what the steam iron would actually do to the actual fiber. Then you know whether you can block it or not. I just found with this scarf, because the way it's made, no blocking is necessary. Oh, now I'm on number 4. And after we do this, I can get started on the actual pattern. Since it's only 38 stitches, I figured I could go ahead and knit all the way across of all 4 rows before I have to switch to the next segment. It's definitely wider than the original. As soon as I get this last few stitches knitted, I will lay this up against the one that only has the 4 stitch garter, and you definitely will be able to see it's definitely wider. And if you don't like it this width, you can still do 4 on either side. You just have to remember, you may have to wet it and lay it flat, and hopefully the fibers will calm down and relax enough that it doesn't keep curling on you. Otherwise, your scarf will always have a light curl every time you wear it. Also, in case you're having trouble hearing, check the volume on your computer. I have the volume on my iPad turned all the way up, so I can't make the volume any higher on my end, but you can always turn the volume up on your computer or iPad, which should make it easier to hear on your end. Okay, one more stitch. There it is. And it takes up just about the full 9-inch needle by doing the 8 garter stitch instead of the 4. Okay, and we can set this on it. Yeah, you can definitely see it's about 1 inch longer than this one because of the extra stitches on it. Now, and also this is a different yarn, so it may not knit up quite the same. It might be a little fuller because it's a different fiber. We'll know more as we knit on it. Okay, let's go ahead and get to the next part. Row 1. I know I could have said knit 5 rows, but however, if this is row 1 is part of a repeat, you definitely can't add it to this. That's why it's added separately as a knit 1 row, because it's part of the repeat pattern. When we get to the next page, it'll probably say repeat rows 1 through 6 or 1 through 8 or whatever it is to achieve the pattern. Okay, I went ahead and finished knitting row 5. Let me make this bigger. Okay, row 2 says to knit 8. Purl to the last, oops, same thing, last 8, and then knit to the, after that, the last 8. So let's count. We definitely have to count. Now, if you're only doing 4, you probably wouldn't have to do as much of a count because 4 stitches you can talk and see, but there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now it says to purl to the last 8, so you bring the yarn to the front, knit in the front of the loop, yarn over, and pull it through, because you want these stitches to be on the front of your work. Now also, I found out over the years, nylons and rayon yarns can be very slippery, and if you like metal needles, it can be super slippery and you can drop your stitches very easily. So I would switch to wooden needles. Wooden seem to give me a little bit more grip. They don't seem to slip off as much. But now this one, I don't know if it's because of the coating on these particular needles, but it's pretty slippery. But I'm being very careful not to let that stitch slip off the tip of my needle. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 2 more. That's why I thought if you put a marker there, when you go back to the knit side, it'll help you know where you only have 8 stitches left, so you don't have to count them each time. Okay, there's that. Now that takes care of row 1 and row 2. Row 3, knit across. Now this particular yarn looks like it has a tendency to drop little pieces now and then off of it, because I have a piece right here and a little piece right there. Some yarns are more delicate than others. They're a little more fragile and they may break. Other yarns are very old. You don't realize how old they are until they start snapping and breaking every time you put any tension on them, because yarn can dry out and rot. That's why it's best to try to keep them as climate controlled as possible. Keep them out of hot attics and damp basements. Those I don't think would be that good for your actual fibers. And of course, when you're caring for your garment, same thing. You want to keep them laying flat. Don't hang them up on a hanger because that stretches the fibers. Leave them in a box or in a drawer. And the same thing in a climate controlled environment. Just about finished with this row. A few more stitches and we'll be done. Then we'll see what the next row says to do. There, okay. Now you can see there's the knit and this is the purl side. Okay, let me check row 3 off. Row 4. Row 4 is the wrong side. Knit across the entire row, just like we did. Oh, even though it's the wrong side, we still want to knit it. Because if we look at the pattern here, the reason they're showing they want you to knit the next row, that's to give you this little ridge here, because that brings the purl row to the front. Okay. So let's go ahead and knit this one. Okay, let me pick up my needle again. Okay, we start with this. It says knit entirely across. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place a couple of markers so I know where my 8 stitches are. There's 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. Okay. I got some little tiny ones. I like to use the smallest one possible, and I like to use the ones that are very flexible, because then I don't never have to worry about them breaking. And I always try to find a contrasting color. It makes it a lot easier to see when you get back to them. I don't like the bigger ones when I'm working with smaller needles. They seem to get in my way more. Now, if you don't have any markers, you can always use just a piece of yarn. Let me show you that real quick. Say you don't have a marker. Just get a piece of yarn, same weight, and make a little overhand knot. Pull it tight. There. And there you've got a marker. Just trim off the tail. So when you need to, you just slip it on your needle and continue knitting. And there you got your marker. Of course, this is the wrong color, but that way you can just use a contrasting piece of yarn and it won't interfere with your work. It won't widen out a space between a stitch, and it travels well, because if you lose it, you can always make another one. So a whole ball of yarn could make millions of little stitch markers. I used to use that a lot when I did socks, because I never liked a stitch marker on my socks. I was always afraid it might make the hole a little bit too big. 2, 4, 6. Oh, there's number 8. Put my other marker on. So now I know where my markers are for my 8 stitch garter rolls. And when I get back to that other fabric marker, I will take it off, because I really don't need that particular one made out of yarn. That was just a sample to show you what you can do. Or you can use safety pins, or you can use a clover safety pin. There's a lot of different things you can do. Be very creative, you have to be, because you may want to use them like I am. here and here. That's just personal choice. Okay, so I've done row 4, row 5. Okay, knit 8, yarn over, knitwise, knit 1. Okay, think I can handle that. We're getting ready to do this double loop drop stitch roll. Okay, let's do our knit 8. And now that I got a marker, I don't have to count it. Slide my marker. Okay, now it says yarn over, knitwise, knit 1. So yarn over, knit 1. Repeat to the last 8 stitches. Okay, so it's yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1. Now you can yarn over like this and knit 1, yarn over, knit 1. I just usually reduce my motions whenever I can and not do the yarn over the same way. Like I leave it at this point and do my yarn over. That way it's already over when I get ready to knit this one, because I still have the actual stitch on there also. Just take it all the way across, and as you can see, it goes pretty quick if you eliminate one motion. Okay, let me get this thing off. Or you can do it the regular way, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1. Okay, I'm to the end. Now with the marker there, I know the next 8 I just knit normally. There's no yarn overs because that's not part of the pattern. Okay, so that takes care of row 5. Now row 6. This is where you actually drop the, I believe you drop the yarn overs off, is on this row. So it says yarn over, knit 8, yarn over purlwise, slip first stitch as if to purl, drop yarn over, slip the next stitch as if to purl, drop the next yarn overs, and slip both stitches back onto the left needle and purl together. Now it's been a little bit since I did this, so it's going to take me a second to get the hang of it again. But once you get the motion going, it's really, really easy. It sounds more complicated than it is. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Slip my marker. Okay, now let me move this up. There. Okay, yarn over purlwise, so that means you got to yarn over like this. You do it like a double, even though it's only 1 yarn over. Slip first stitch as if to purl, because that's a stitch you knit. It's you always slip the stitch you knit and drop the yarn over. Okay, did that. Okay, now drop the yarn, next stitch as it, then you slip the next stitch as if to purl. No, you don't slip it. Now I'm blank. This is really easy to do. Why can't I think? Let me pause it while I think. I got it. I was adding, putting more work into it than I had to. I was overthinking it because I said just do what it says and it works. Like slip the next stitch as if to purl. Okay, so I'm going to slip the next stitch as if to purl, drop the next yarn over, and then slip both of the stitches back onto the left needle, and then you purl the 2 together. There. Okay, so then we do it again. Slip the next stitch as if to purl, drop the yarn over. Slip the next stitch as if to purl, yarn over. Put the two back on your left hand needle and purl them together. So slip one as if to purl, slip as if to purl. Now you can totally, completely put them back on the left needle if you like, and then purl them together. That way you know you're where you're supposed to be. As you can see how it drops them down, makes them nice and long. Or just slip the left needle into your work and purl it together. Okay, just do that and then purl it together, same thing. It's just one less motion you have to make. Slip as if to purl, drop one, put them both back on the left needle, purl them together. So when I do it, if I can get it purled together, slip as if to purl, slip as if to purl. I stick the left needle in and then purl them together. Slip as if to purl, drop, slip as if to purl, drop, put them back on your left needle, purl them together. Now this one I'm going to do is individual steps. Slip as if to purl, slip as if to purl, put them back on your left hand needle, and then you put the right needle in and purl them. Slip as if to purl, slip as if to purl, put your stitches back on your left needle, purl them together. I just don't take it off the right hand needle. This one's not cooperating. There, okay. I just do this and this, leave it on the right needle, and purl them. One more, it looks like. 1, 2, and purl together. Bring your yarn to the back and knit the last 8. Okay, so that does row 6. And as you look at it, all those drop stitches are right hanging through here, which are the same as these. Now once I do the next row, that's going to make it drop down even further and be a little easier to see. But right now I'm just finishing up this row here. Okay, let's get the next page. Okay, knit across all stitches, including the yarn overs. So in this case, the yarn overs are going to be considered a stitch. So you knit knit the first 8, or 6 or 4, however many you want for your border. All 3 will work. A 4-stitch border, a 6-stitch border, an 8-stitch border, they will all work. But now in this case, I'm going to knit everything, including the yarn over. So knit that one. Where's my yarn over? I forgot my yarn over. There's supposed to be a yarn over in between. So I'm going to cheat. I'm going to put a yarn over here. And yarn over. I forgot to put the yarn overs in. So this is how you would fix it and add a yarn over. Because if you don't have a yarn over there, then you've lost a stitch. See, that was a yarn over, so now I'm going to knit one. When I do the next one, I will do it correctly with the yarn over in between. I didn't realize I had left it out. You can always go back and put all the stitches back on your needle, but sometimes that takes more time. And see, this is working. Put the yarn back up on your needle and knit it. Then knit the next one. Put the yarn back up on your needle. Knit it. Knit the next one. Put the yarn back up on your needle. Knit it. You just have to hold them with your fingers because otherwise, being such a slippery yarn, it's going to slip right off. See, this one I did the yarn over first. I actually put the first one on. I just didn't put any of the other ones on. And then slip your marker and do your last 8. Okay, so even though I made that little boo-boo, it hasn't really affected the overall look. It still has the yarn overs, and now you have the right amount of stitches. Okay, that takes care of row 7. Okay, 8 and 9 is just plain knit across, so I'm going to pause it and just knit those 2. Since I made the mistake of not doing the yarn overs on the first row of double loop drop stitch, I'm going ahead and then superimpose this roll right after this. That way you can see the mistake, and then I'll carry on with here, and then I'll continue on at that point. But I just wanted to show you the correction early. That way you can avoid making the mistake like I did. Okay, so now going back to the first one, the one that I boo-booed, we're just repeating it up here, which we're supposed to do, but I want to show you how you would work that roll. So you start with a knit 8. Now remember, I forgot one yarn over, it fell off, so I will make the yarn over at the end of that roll, just like we did on the first time. But you knit them together, or knit all the edge stitches. Now it says knit all including the yarn overs. So I would have 38. Okay, so then I would knit the first stitch and the yarn over. Knit the first stitch and the yarn over. Knit the first stitch or the next stitch and the yarn over. Always do the yarn over. It does make a big hole, but that's what the yarn overs are designed to do. Give you that extra openness in this section. You do it all the way across. Now here the yarn over flipped over, so I had to bring it back because the other yarn over is right here where it should be. So if one of your yarn over slips like it did before, it slipped over like this, well, you know it doesn't belong there. So you can manually move it over if you're more comfortable. Move it over because your other yarn over is right there like it should be. So let me finish knitting these. We're almost done. And like I said, I forgot to do my first yarn over fell off, so I'm going to make a fudgy yarn over. Okay, there's my knit. Now I should have a yarn over there and it's missing. So like the first time, I'll just put it up on there and there's my yarn over. And I'll knit it, slip my marker and knit the last 8. Just a couple more. Okay, so now we're done. Well, that's the back of the book. Here's the front. And you can see how much more open this drop roll is because I remembered to do the yarn over. Where on this one, since I didn't remember to do the yarn over, I did the fake yarn over. If you wanted to do the fake yarn over instead and keep it tight, you're more than welcome to keep doing it this way or do it the right way with all the yarn overs. So after you finish that, now you go back into this knitting phase again where you knit 2 rows, then you do a knit row with purls, and then knit 3 rows. What that is going to do will give you this section here, right above your double loop drop stitch. Oh, I've got this upside down. Should be this way. But it's the same difference. You would have your same thing there. So I just wanted to show you how to do it the right way. And as you can see with the 8 sets of garters instead of the 4, how it's laying nice and flat. Even if I turn it over and try to fold it over, it doesn't want to fold over. Like with this one, if I turned it over and did this, they'll stay that way. This one is behaving itself a little bit, but as you can see, they definitely want to roll over. The other one doesn't. Okay, so I'm not going to continue with this. Yeah, I guess I will. I'll go ahead and get this last little bit done and come back and show you where I'm at. Okay, I went ahead and did what I said I was going to do. Plus, I went ahead and did the other 4 because this is just a knit, purl, knit, roll, and then 3 regular knit rolls. I didn't feel I needed to come back and say this is what I was going to do since these are all exactly alike. So I went ahead and did all those, and I also did 14, which is the same thing. I do knit 8, purl to the last 8, knit 8. So now I'm on 13, which is the next decorative row, which is all these eyelets. So let's go ahead and get started. It starts off with a knit 8. Okay, then it says to yarn over. Oh, let's slip our marker. Yarn over, slip 1, knit 1, pass slip stitch over. By doing that, you've done an increase here, but then when you pass the slip stitch over, you did a decrease. So now we do it again. Yarn over, slip 1, knit 1, pass slip stitch over, and just repeat it all the way across. It's very, very repetitious. So slip 1, knit 1, pass slip stitch over, yarn over, because that gives us our stitch back, because when we knit 1, slip 1, by passing the slip stitch over, we did a decrease. So when we do a yarn over, we're putting our stitch back that we lost. Slip 1, knit 1, yarn over, slip 1, knit 1, pass slip stitch over, yarn over. Oh, we're just about done with this row. Knit 1, or slip 1, knit 1, pass slip stitch over, yarn over, slip 1, knit 1, pass slip stitch over, yarn over. I dropped my stitch. Let's put it back on the needle. Slip 1, knit 1, pass slip stitch over, but there's no yarn over at the end because you stop at the pass slip stitch over. Slip our marker and do 8. Okay, and then row 12 is repeat 10, which is knit 8, purl to the last 8, knit 8. So we're going to do that next. Because whenever you do a roll of yarn overs, or which makes eyelets, you always need to have at least a roll of knit before and after, or purls before or after. That helps seat the yarn overs in the right configuration and the right size, and they don't slip and they don't get bigger and they don't get smaller. Now when you do it, you purl your stitch and you also want to purl your yarn over. Even though it just says all the stitches, the yarn overs are classified as stitch. Just like in the double loop drop stitch, the yarn over classifies as a stitch, so you definitely want to purl all your yarn overs. So far, so good. We're definitely making headway here. Just about to the end of this row. Bring the yarn to the back. And now we want to knit 8. Oops, I lost that one. We'll get it back. Okay, so now we've done row 14. I don't know why it says 13. I think we made some 13, 14. This should be 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We definitely got to fix our numbers. But we definitely know we did this row and we did this row. So now we're going to do this next row here, which is 14. This is 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. That's why I like to redo a pattern after several months, because little things like this I may not notice because the pattern is in my head, so I'm not really paying attention to the actual pattern. If I put my pattern aside for several months or a year, depending on my mood, I come back and these little things I see here, I notice, and then I can make the correction. Or like here, this is a knit 1 instead of a knit 2. Sometimes that is important to know. And also, oh, this is not right. This should be 8. And changing it from a 4 garter stitch edge to an 8 garter stitch edge, I think that is going to make it lay a lot nicer. So those are little tweaks that I do as I redo a pattern after letting it set for a while. All right, so we just did row 16. So now we're going to go to row 17, which is knit 8. Now here you see the difference. Instead of yarn over first, the yarn over is at the end. What that does is it makes all these little holes stagger instead of being lined up vertically over top each other. So let's go ahead and get the next one started. We start with our knit 8. Oh, I dropped that one. It's so easy to do, especially in the late evening. My hands start to get tired. I have a tendency to drop things a little easier. Okay, now we start with slip 1, knit 1, pass slip stitch over, then yarn over. So we're going to slip 1, knit 1, pass slip stitch over, then do the yarn over. Slip 1, knit 1, pass slip stitch over, then do a yarn over. Slip 1, knit 1, pass slip stitch over, yarn over. So just repeat it all the way across, just like you did on the other roll. The only difference is now we're doing the yarn over after. So when we get to the very end of this row, the last stitch we have will be a yarn over, where in the other one the last stitch we had was a pass slip stitch over. We're just about there. There we go, getting there. We're down to the last 2 sets. There we go, and there's my last yarn over. And then we're going to knit the last 8 stitches. And every now and then it's really good to count your stitches to make sure you're still on pattern, especially when you're doing a lot of changes. Like when you do a yarn over or a pass slip stitch over. It never hurts to count every now and then. So let's count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 28. Well, I miscounted. Try again. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, and then my last 8. So I'm still at 38, which is great. So now I can check off number 17. Row 14 is repeat 10. So let's go back and repeat 10. We have that one down pat now. I like to get up to where I do the double loop drop stitch again, since I made that error the last time and forgot to do the yarn overs between each set of drop stitches. I feel I need to go back and do it one more time, and that will help clarify it for you, because like I said, I did make a mistake, but in a way making a mistake showed you what you can do with that row to correct the mistake without having to take your stitches out, just by picking up the yarn over and knitting it like I did. These, all my yarn overs are there, so I don't have to worry about them. I need to put little pads on these needles because every time I touch the wood, it makes such a loud noise. Come on, get over. We're just about there. Then we got to do our last set of eyelets. You can stop with 2 eyelets if you like, but the 3 just gives it a little extra neat look, and also it's a quick roll to do. Whoops, I'm purling my last 8. Okay, now knit it. As you see there, I did what they call tink, where I unknitted the stitches. I've got a video I did just recently that's called Tink versus Rip, and it just shows you the difference between tinking out stitches and knitting, ripping them out and knitting them. Okay, so I just finished row 18, so now row 19 is the same as row 13, because see here the yarn over is in front, yarn over in back. This row the yarn over is in front again. So let's do it again. Now, if you're knitting along with me, you can always pause the tape and do a part and then pick it up and continue on. Or you can pause it and just go, and then when you get to finish that section, you can fast forward through the next part, because the next part may be similar, so you can fast forward through it and get ready to go to the next section. That's one good thing about the videos. You can go forward, you can go backwards, you can pause, you can start over. It really gives you the opportunity to really see what's being done and see it over and over and over again. Just like having a teacher sitting right next to you. Unfortunately, you can't ask it questions, but you can always leave a question down in the remarks or the comments below. I do respond to them. Sometimes I'm a little slow, but I do respond to every one. Now, some of the ones I can't respond to are the ones that are wrote in Arabic or Portuguese, French. Unfortunately, I don't know any of the languages, so I just kind of have to. Sometimes I can get the translator to work and it'll translate the words, but they usually lose something in the translation, in both directions. But I do the best I can. Okay, then I knit the last 8. And the next one is repeat row 10 again. We're really making headway on this one. Depending on how fast you are, you can do each section in 25-30 minutes, and if you do 5 sections, you can have the thing done in 2.5 hours. It just depends on your speed, the yarn you're using, and how ambidextrous you are. Like tonight, I'm not very ambidextrous. My left hand and I are not speaking the same language tonight, but we're working towards it. Okay, I'm getting this last row here. Then we'll see what comes up next. I think what's next is a bunch of knit rolls and purl rolls. And if that's the case, I'll just go ahead and pause the video until I get back to the double loop drop stitch roll, and then I'll pick it up again and we will go through it and do it correctly the second time. Over the years, I've found different ways I can correct a stitch without knitting an entire roll. That comes in handy. Sometimes you can't, you just have to take it apart. I'm just about done with this. 3 more. Okay. There. You see all the yarn overs and knit togethers there, and here you got all your. Now the double loop drop stitch is not as deep as it should be because of the mistake I made and had to make my own yarn over. Now when I do the next section, when I get up into about this area, I'm going to do it the right way, and you'll be able to see the difference in the 2 yarn overs. Okay, so I've got that one done. Now it says to knit 2 rows, and that would be the end. So you go row 1 through row 22, and you start all over again. So let me get these 2 knit rows done, and then we'll get back and we'll start working on the double loop drop stitch roll again so you can see how it's done correctly. All right, I just completed row 22. So I've got my ridge there, because when you did row 8, which is 22, you would knit across, so that puts the purl ridge on the front. Now it says to repeat rows 1 through 22. So go back here, row 1 is knit, purl, and knit. So I'll go ahead and run those through. So it's knit, purl, knit, knit. And then I'll be back and we'll start the double loop drop stitch. All right, I have finished row 22, and it says to repeat rows 1 through 22 again. So I'm back on page 1, which says knit, purl, knit, and then knit on the wrong side. So I think I've already done that. Let's see. Yep, I've already done that. All right. And then you want to do your yarn over. This is the double loop drop stitch. Since I made a mistake on the first one I did here, I'm redoing it again up here, which is where it goes the next time. So you'll see it after my first boo-boo, and then it'll be repeated again at the end in succession like it should be. All right, so let's get started. Okay, we start with a knit 5, yarn over, knitwise, and knit 1. So I can do that. So first we start with our knit 8. Oh, let's see, there's 8 there. 2, 4, oh, there's 7. Okay, there's number 8. That's why that marker is so handy. Okay, so now we're going to yarn over, knitwise, and knit 1. So yarn over, knit 1, and repeat. Yarn over, knit 1. Yarn over, knit 1. Yarn over, knit 1. Yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, and I just do a yarn, knit 1, then I do a yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1. It's a little faster if you do it all in 2 or 3 steps instead of knit, pull it out, yarn over, knit, pull it out, yarn over. I just like to knit, leave it on the needles together, just do the yarn over before I take the needle off. It still does the same thing. It just feels like it goes a little bit quicker than doing it this way, but you can do it either way. My yarn over, make sure I do all my yarn overs, and I think it's the next roll is where I forgot to do the yarn overs, and that's the reason why we had to do that kind of pretend yarn over, which made the actual stitch a little bit shorter than it should have been. Okay, so I've got my yarn over, knit 2 together, knit, and repeat to the last 8 stitches, which is my marker. Now I'm going to knit 8. It's not a hard pattern to do. You just have to be a little bit mindful when you get into the 2 decorative stitches, and they're very repetitious. That's what makes it easy, and it can go faster too. Okay, so now I've got all my yarn overs and knit ones, and that's why there's so many stitches on here, because every yarn over added another stitch. Number 6, turn my work, of course, knit 8, yarn over, purlways, and then we do our drop stitch. Let me do the 8. Always have to stop and think about doing that double loop drop stitch, because once I've done the first one, then it clicks again, and oh yeah, I remember how to do this. But last time I was doing it and forgetting to do the yarn over before I did each of the drop stitches. That's where the mistake went. Okay, so we do a yarn over, which I did, purl, yarn over purlwise, which I did, skip first stitch as if to purl, and then drop the yarn over. Oh, slip, not skip, slip. So you slip the stitch that you knitted, drop the yarn over. Slip the next stitch you knitted, yarn over. Then put them back on your left needle. And I think you knit them, right? Drop yarn, slip, purl two together. Okay, then you purl the two together. Now this is where I made my mistake. I forgot to do the yarn over. So slip one, drop, slip one, drop. Put the stitches back on the needle, purl them together, yarn over, slip one, drop, slip one, drop. Put the needle back in the stitches, knit the two together, yarn over, slip, drop, slip, drop, two stitches back on the needle, purl together. I don't bother taking the stitches off the right hand needle. I just leave them there. You can take them off if you want. So you slip one, drop, slip one, drop. You can put them back on the left hand needle and then purl them together. Or you can slip one, drop, slip one, drop. Just put the left needle in behind your right needle and purl two together. Still the same stitch, still the same thing. It's just one less motion with the needles. Okay, slip, knit, and slip, drop. Put them back on the left hand needle, then purl together. Yarn over. Slip, drop, slip, drop. What I do is I put the left hand needle behind and leave them on the right hand needle because that's where they're going to be anyway, and purl together. See how much deeper they are when you do it right? Yarn over. Slip one, put them together, yarn over, slip one, knit, slip one, knit, and then you get them together. But there's no yarn over at the end because the yarn over is before. See, the yarn over is before. Purl, drop, next yarn over, purl two together, but it doesn't say to do a yarn over, it's only at the beginning. Okay, and now we want to knit the last 8. Okay, there we are. So now we got them all on our needles, and including the yarn overs, there should be 38 again. So let's count just to make sure. Well, we know there's 8 here. 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 29, 30, the 1, the 2, 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, or 7. Okay, I'm missing one. Is there supposed to be a yarn over at the end? Because I'm missing one stitch in the field part. Oh, I know what it was. My yarn over here is missing. If I had put my yarn over here, well, I did have it, I must have dropped it off, but there was a yarn over here, so pretend that it's there because it's supposed to be. But because it was the knit, you know, drop the stitches and purl together, then a yarn over. But there should have been a yarn over in the beginning. I know I did one, but it must have fell off. So that's the reason why I'm showing 37. I will add the yarn over again, just like I did on the first time. But that's how you do row 6. Okay, now we're back up to row 7. All right, I've done all the way through here. And as you can see, this line here is the same as this line here. So then the next thing I'll be doing would be this part here, and I'll be continuing on and just keep repeating it. I just wanted to show how you can, if you make a boo-boo, how you can make it work, although it doesn't look quite the same. And then I did show you again how to do it without the boo-boo, and you can see the difference in the width. I've gone ahead and finished all this in here, and as you can see, it's right there. There's the knit roll, and then all these knits and purls, and then the final knit roll, which gives you the ridge, which is this ridge right here. No, this ridge right here. So the next thing I would be doing is this. Now, I'm not going to be finishing this scarf primarily because this is only going to be a display piece to put in front of the yarn at my shop so people can see how the purl knits up. I already have 2 scarves made up, so I really don't need to have a third one. But I just wanted to show you how this scarf works up. Super easy, super simple, goes fairly quickly because you decide on the width. Like I said, you can do the 4 stitches, or you can do the 8 stitches, or you can do 6 stitches, but make sure you get yourself a nice width of garter. That helps make this lay flat, because stockinette always likes to curl. But thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my video, please hit the subscribe button and the notification so the next time I do a video, you will be notified. This scarf, I believe, is on my website, stitchniche.com. I'm going to check and see if it's on Ravelry, because I like to get all my videos on Ravelry too. I haven't been as diligent of getting them on Ravelry. I'm just making sure I do have them on my website, and I will make a hyperlink on the video to get this pattern, which is double loop drop stitch scarf installed horizontally or vertically. But again, thank you for watching.